Maybe I should like log into YouTube first before doing this. I don't know. Here we go. Please work. There we go. Now I'm not sure what was probably working before, but you look frozen. Yeah, it was probably working before, but I need to make sure that I can see myself. I can watch myself playing myself, doing something to myself. Right, ignore that. Okay, so we got this arm here, this little hand, and we're going to import from our scanner. So let me go ahead and pull up the scans. And where do I have my scans? Okay, so when you have, let me show you. From Einstar, the scanner I just showed you, you will have a not a mobile app, but a web application. And that will, there you go. Here's the web application. You can go in and you've got all of these different scans. And here's the one that I just did. And this is of the hand that you just saw, but this is with the silicone buildup over it. So I've made silicone. I've made this sort of partial glove over top of it, and I've rescanned this. So here it is. So here it is, and this is what we're going to import. You can see there's a section of silicone missing from the center. So the black portions are silicone, and we're gonna go to download. We're gonna download as an STL. You could download as other formats. You can download as object or BB. Object will have other information like color and textures, which is useful depending on what you're doing here. And it takes, you can see how long it takes. It takes a bit. But that'll download it. I'll pull it into my file. And then from my file, so download it, you download it into whatever file you want to save it as. Alright. After you download it, you can pull it into Blender. It's important to save it onto your computer, into your files, because sometimes if you just like drag and drop into Blender, it's just not going to pop up. It's not going to import unless you actually have it in a folder. I don't know how that works. That's weird, but it's not really a big deal. Guys, you're gonna have to let me know how the volume is. I've been having a little trouble with like some kind of background staticky noise in the background. Right now I don't have, I guess I could listen to myself and make sure that it sounds right. But my gosh, I take too long already with trying to figure out streaming. So please let me know. Okay, so we just dragged it in, we import it, and there you can see. There you can see it. And I have it somewhat overlaid here. We just pop it over here. Okay. So that's a scan, right? What I'm going to do is just import a mesh so that we can cut off that bottom portion, that excess that we don't really need over here. There's other ways you could probably do this, like with the knife tool. But when you got so many vertices here, you know, you got all these tiny little itty bitty details, you can easily like mess that up. Oops, I don't know what I did there. So you can easily like, you could do the knife cut, but it has to go through tons of vertices. And I like doing things the easy and quick way. Okay, we really don't need too much, and we're going to be cutting this again, in fact. So let's just take the difference And that might make it solid. That's flat cut. That's kind of what I was looking for. You've got this extra junk here at the bottom, but if you just go to all, you can see when I hit tab and all into edit mode, you can see all the little vertices. It's a lot. It's too many, in fact. But if you select them all, including these loose ones, and hit P for separate by loose parts, anything that's not touching each other is going to be separated. So then we can go ahead and just grab this thing and just delete that. Next, we'll take this and we'll either remesh it, go into your wrench over here, adding a modifier, remesh to get some polygons that make sense. It's not really that big of a deal. Everything was trigons, so everything's like made in triangles. But Blender really likes like quads more. You can see this, it's gonna make it some squares. You can do some interesting stuff with this. You could do like blocks and try to make everything look like a Minecraft version if you're doing any modeling for Minecraft. I was thinking about maybe like making a potion bottle for Halloween. Back, you know, before it was Halloween, but I'm so busy. And then just going into remesh and then hitting blocks, and it'll come up as like a blocky thing. Alright, so here's a remesh. We're up to level 9, which is usually what I peak out as. That looks good. And we'll just apply it. Applying your modifiers will help your computer speed back up if it's getting a little laggy. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to fill this void, and I'm going to do that in the physical world, not in this digital one. You could do that digitally, but it's almost more work or something. So I'm going to have another cube. I'm going to have another cube. And I'm actually going to cut this up further. So maybe what we'll do is we will duplicate this to create something of a repository here. In case I mess up, because I am known to mess up. We all mess up, you know, that's what happens in life. Let's just ask my wife. Alright, so did I make a little box here? Yes, I did. There it is. Alright, let's pull that over and we're just gonna scale this up. S for scale. And like I said, I don't need a lot of this. I'm just gonna use this to create a portion that I'm going to fill with more like putty to make this look how I want to in the real world. Because we're going to smooth this over. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to inject this with silicone, right? And then by injecting it with silicone, I'm going to fill that void. So this silicone that has this zipper integrated here, that silicone for prosthetics is much more comfortable than thermoplastics. Traditionally, come on, I can tell you. Select this. Traditionally, thermoplastics are used for prosthetics, but it can be a little bit uncomfortable. There we go. It can be a little bit uncomfortable depending on what your material is. Silicone has been gaining in popularity, and I like it as a manufacturer because it's just like less toxic. And I work like in a garage attached to my home. So there is like a lot of air that's shared between my garage and my home. And when you work with thermoplastics, you have to heat up these thermoplastics often, right? And I don't have a shop on my own yet. And once you start heating up thermoplastics, you just start, you get a lot of volatiles into the air. And I've got kids and stuff. It's not great for them to breathe in. It's not great for you to breathe in. And very little people actually care about your health when you're working for them. You might work at a business, and I've worked at prosthetic in businesses before, and they do the market minimum for keeping you healthy. They do what they have to, and there's not a whole lot regulation for protecting you as a worker these days. So if you're breathing in like poison, volatile stuff, you're working with resin, you're working with carbon fiber, you're working with thermoplastics, they'll give you your M3 mask. But you have to be on top of that yourself for, when you're changing your masks out, when you're changing your mask filters out, when you're, your clothing, like, they might issue you some scrubs, but, in my experience, like, if you're working with carbon fiber, it's like being a coal miner. Like, you're grinding carbon fiber, and yeah, you have a mask, and maybe you have an M3 mask, but you can still smell it and breathe particles in. Like yesterday, I was just grinding a little bit of carbon fiber, and I was just wearing a surgical mask and whatnot. And then I blew my nose, and I could see all this carbon fiber particles come out of my nose. God, it's like, oh shit! Like, how much of that am I breathing in? Boy, so you need to really take care of yourself. And when you're like a hourly laborer wage guy, and you're working for a bigger company, they don't tend to care too much about your life, really, your longevity. And that's a good way to get lung cancer or black lung, because you're breathing in all these tiny little carbon fiber particles, and they don't come out of you. Like, as soon as they get into your lungs, they stay there. It's like breathing in asbestos. Okay, so I'm gonna need to stick a pipe in this so that I can work on it in the physical world. And the pipe is about it's like 18 millimeters. So the radius, we're gonna put in 10. And that's kind of why I've been opting for doing things more digitally. Even though, to be honest, like, the last place I worked, they didn't like me working digitally, which is funny because now it's like immediately prosthetists who work at the clinics, they're starting to get into 3D printing more and into working digitally more, because number one, it's better for your health. You're not breathing in like plasters, which is also traditionally used for manufacturing. And as a technician, you're a low paid. This thing starts at like $12 an hour for a technician, and I'm a technician, but I work for myself, so I got out of that. Try to carve out a place for myself, but even the prosthetists who make way more than the technicians, they are noticing the benefits of digital fabrication. There are benefits like being able to have a repository of things that you've made and stuff, but also it's for your health too. And also you can work long distance. And all those things, those benefits stack up, and it becomes it's a valuable thing to do. And as the world kind of like loses its as people lose their skills for manufacturing things by hand. That's something that's been going on for thousands of years now. 3D printing is going to be taking over a lot more. I don't know if you can see over here. You probably can't, but in my other videos you can see I've got two 3D printers over here. I've got 2 more in the other room, and I've got some resin, a few resin printers in a resin room. And of course, they come with their own challenges and stuff, so you do need to learn about them, learn how to do them safely, and they have their own health things, but it beats breathing in plaster and carbon fiber, I'll tell you that much. Alright, so this was pretty easy. I just wanted to take this section of this hand, so you can see, it's like somewhere there, right? And I'm gonna inject this with the softer silicone so that this patient can get some more bending action out of this, just a little bit more flexible. One day in the future, we might experiment with like corrugation. If you know what that is, that's like the ripples and like tubing and piping that makes things bendable. But we'll see. This is I don't like to do too much experimenting for a project. But there, we're gonna take this and then we're gonna go to 3D print and make this a manifold. You can see here it's completed some floating vertices and edges and loops and whatnot. So that should be good. I like to hit it 2 or 3 times to make sure that it comes up as 0, 0, 0. Now we're going to find this here in our thing. I think this is the one. And we're going to rename. Renaming is important. Injection. Model, maybe? Model, because I'm going to do another injection molding thing. Alright, so we'll just do that. Now we're going to export that as an STL over to where we save, and then we're just going to pull up Blender here. Not Blender, sorry, Bamboo Labs. Bamboo Lab Studio thing. Here I'm working on a leg, and I can show you guys. Yesterday, if you were with me, if you saw, I was working on this leg preview. Here's that leg. Now here's the first shot that I printed, and I printed it. I can't see you guys. Get right here. All right, so I printed this guy standing up, like so. It's big. It's a leg. Okay, so I printed it standing up like this on the print bed, and it did all right. But as soon as I got up here, it started getting unstable, and there's some ripples here. Otherwise, it's nice and smooth. Actually, not too bad. Now I know what you're thinking. Why not just print it like this? Which is what I did next. But usually I print it like this, so that there's no support that needs to go on the inside. Right? Inside, I want it more smooth. I'm less worried about the outside than I am on the inside, right? So I print it like that, like a vase, like that. But that failed, and then it fell. Can you see that crack? Or the spike here? It fell on the print bed, and it just hit the print, hit the print bed, and it kind of shattered a bit. I thought that was interesting. Probably because it was getting ripply here, which means the layers weren't like sitting on top of each other really well, and that makes gaps, and that creates a weak spot. All right, so I printed this one. Right, and the cool thing is that these are thin, so they don't actually take a lot of material. All right, so I printed that on the print bed that way. Now in this case, I did have some support material going inside of it to the top, but I've got a thick silicone layer that I've made for this patient, and he's got a nice long zipper. So the silicone will make this. I mean, you won't be able to feel this when you slip this on, because there's a silicone liner. And then, well, this can act as a test socket if it's printed thick enough. But I usually print this, and then the clinician or technician at the office, at the clinic, will fill this with plaster, and they'll be able to make their own carbon fiber version right on site. You know, if they don't need me making it, because they're gonna do alignments and stuff. So they're gonna actually glue on. So if this is a leg, they're going to glue on basically a foot onto this thing. And they've got different apparatuses to hold the foot on. And then they bolt, you know, they'll put a plate on, and the plate will bolt into a foot, or bolt into adapters, and the adapters bolt into a foot, and then the foot gets a, you know, a shell, a foot shell, kind of looks like just like a, you know, like a dummy foot. And then that you'll be able to slip on like a shoe or something for your patient, for you. Anyway, so I printed that. That was successful. We're gonna go ahead and open again. I really like this Stream Deck because you can just like program. I had this little 3D printer icon here on my Stream Deck, and I can open up my different 3D printers, like softwares and slicers and stuff. So I have like Bamboo Lab, and then I have Chitu Box for like resin prints, and then I have Ultimaker, and I should really put in like what was that other slicer called? I should put in other open source slicers, like Orca Slicer. That's what it's called. Okay, so we're just gonna bring this up. I think I've exported already. Once you export it, you can just drag it onto the build plate here. And this one, okay. Yeah, so what's with you guys? I don't know if talking about Blender all the time is like actually interesting. Could be boring, I don't know. Hey, will this show you? Okay, yeah, so here we got Bamboo Slicer. And let's just go to home. Like, I always pitch 3D printer stuff, because just look, I mean, you can get, there's over here. People have made thousands of designs. And I was looking at AirPod stuff recently, right? And I think I've got my AirPod here. Made this adorable little Minecraft style AirPod holder. Super cool, and it's sturdy. Like, it's awesome. My last case broke. Like, I bought the case on Amazon, and then I was gonna buy another one. I was like, you know what? Let's just print ourselves. We got this cute stuff, but they've got thousands of designs, and every day, I swear, every day there's like hundreds more that people added. I actually do need a star for my Christmas tree. But you can see, like, they've just got the coolest. That's funny. I've made one of these before. Fallout Pip-Boy watch. I love that. I love Fallout. Playing Fallout. I don't know if you guys want me to. Oh, those are cool glasses. I don't know if you guys want to watch me playing the games, but I do some gaming too. I don't know if you guys like gaming, or if you just want to talk Blender on this on these streams. But yeah, you can see that there's I mean, this is all for, most of this is for like iPhone stuff. But I've got, you can add collections. You can, what is that? What is this? Oh, that's interesting. That holds your AirPods to your ear. You can add collections. You can just surf what people have made. I don't know if, how do I get to just the generic stuff people have been making lately? That was cute. Things I've done, Minecraft stuff. There's also like the top collection, the top designs that people have made. Let me see, look, here's PSP stuff. I guess this is the stuff that I've been interested in lately. But like everything from organizers to toys to prosthetic stuff, like people design tons of things on the daily and just upload it. Look at this Capsule Corp bike. It's so awesome. Dragon Ball, yeah, I'm into anime too. Super cool. And that's why I keep saying it's like a deflationary technology, because if you're gonna be out trying to buy a lot of this stuff, you might as well just buy a $200 printer and just start pumping out stuff yourself. It doesn't make a lot of sense to be spending so much money on stuff that you could just print at home a lot cheaper. And it's like inflation, everything gets so much more expensive, and making everything more expensive. I mean, everybody's complaining about affordability, and Trump is out there. The affordability is a hoax. It's a Democrat hoax. Affordability. It's a new word. I love it when he says that. That is the most unhinged stuff I've ever heard in my life. It's the most like unrelatable stuff. Things being affordable is a hoax, and it's a new term. Or like groceries. So groceries is what did he say? It's also a new term, or it's a old fashioned term. Like, when is groceries, like the word groceries, what do you mean it's an old fashioned term? I mean, I know you haven't like bought groceries for yourself in ever, probably, but we deal with that daily. What? That is a daily term for us. What do you mean it's like old fashioned or something? That's insane. What do you call groceries? Alright, so we're gonna switch over to the mini, because there's no need to print something on a huge printer when I have these small printers available. I'm just gonna go ahead and print them in PLA. Polylactic acid, I think is what it is. Alright, so we made that thing. And what did I name it to? I named it to like injection mold or something. I don't know. Drag it over. Got this stuff. I can't see you guys. I'm sorry. There you go. I gotta make sure I'm looking at the right stuff. What? Didn't I change this? Okay. So yeah, after you change this in device, I named here are the 4 printers that I have. I've bought 4 of these bamboo printers. The A1 large, the mini, which is the same kind of printer. Open like bed slinger printers. I don't know if I can. I'm sorry, guys. They're over here. Okay, so these guys are. What is so bright? All right, so these printers, these are bed slingers, right? Why do they call them bed slingers? Because the bed slings back and forth on the y-axis. Yeah, y-axis. And then there's a larger version back there, right? And they both have the AMS light system, so they can handle up to like 4. They can handle up to 4 different materials or colors. You know, usually when you're doing this open air printing, you're relegated to like PLA and PETG, which is fine. Those are fine. But the other printers here, the Carbon and the H2D, those are enclosed printers, so they have a glass and metal enclosure, and the Carbon is the same size as an A1 large, but it's in an enclosure, so it can handle like engineering plastics and stuff. The H2D is a step further, and it has like two nozzles, so you can truly do multi-material printing, where one nozzle prints and then it switches to the second nozzle. Say like you need support material, so we're gonna hit sync here. So say you're printing in, I don't know, in like PETG, and then you need some sort of support material, but you don't want to run both materials through the same nozzle, because you're gonna get like mixing of the material in the nozzle, and that can cause issues with how strong the print is. So with using those two nozzles, it'll just lift one nozzle back and it'll start printing with the second nozzle. And it'll go back and forth. That also saves a lot more material. But I paid like, it was post-tariff, so I ended up paying more for that printer than I really wanted to. I think I paid like a good $500 more for that printer than I really should have. I needed it quickly, but then the tariffs came into play, so that kind of sucked. Now it dropped by like $500 or $1,000. Great, thanks. All right, so let's go to, you know, and like, oh, we'll just print this in. What can we print this in? Check the materials out. What we're gonna do is we're gonna switch materials. Gray PLA. You guys want to see. Sorry, I know the microphone like sucks when it's far away. But these are Bowden tubes. And it looks like I had a little bit of filament stuck inside the tube. So we gotta remove that. All right, now we got the junk out of that Bowden tube. What do you call it? PTFE tubing. They're like low friction tubing so that filament can pass through them. Okay, so we got to reprogram the filament here. The mini. Got to push it in more. There, we got to push it in so it recognizes what's going on. And it's going to feed itself a little bit, and then we can go in and we can tell it what's up. So it already comes up as PLA, but we're going to just change the color to gray. Confirm. All right, now we're ready to go. So we go back to prepare, hit sync again. Sometimes this stuff can be confusing if you haven't done it a bunch of times already. For example, it's not coming up. There's always something. We'll just hit sync again, see what happens. Overview. I don't know. I think that worked. There you go. This doesn't have to be anything special. This doesn't have to be thick, whatever. I'm literally just gonna go in and fill this gap with putty. And then scan it again, and then from there we're gonna create an injectable mold and basically replace the putty that I put into it with silicone. So it's gonna give me like it's gonna use that as a mold to create what I created. Yes. All right, cool. So we're gonna go ahead and hit print. Let me see. I'm gonna change this a little bit. And you might hear it start. Now, because we did those cutouts on the top and on the bottom over here, we made those flat, right? And the benefit of doing that is we could just select that face in Bamboo so that it prints flat. Okay. Now again, I really I like Bamboo because they've integrated, you know, the other consumer parts of what's cool about 3D printing, like I showed you before. There it goes. It makes a little happy noise. You know, like things that you know, might want on a daily basis or something. Tools or, you know, trinkets, whatever, Christmas gifts and stuff. These are just things I've checked out or I've printed in the past. And look at this Rick and Morty's portal gun. Some awesome stuff. Organizers for your gaming. Solder vacuum extractor with accessories, so you can print the shell for equipment and then put in the electronics for your equipment and make products. You know, there's tons of people who started businesses from these things. You know, you doing airbrushing, you want an airbrush thing so that you don't have to buy one. Yeah. Triple pulley. I don't know how reliable some of this stuff is because it is 3D printing, but if you are designing it with those things in mind, like this pulley, you know, obviously you would print this triangle part flat. You know, if you were to print it standing up and then use the pulley system, it would rip itself apart. But if you're printing it flat and then your layers are going in like in like the circumference, right? You're increasing the strength of those layer bonds. Stuff like this espresso cap thing. I have a drawer. I really wanted to print this one, but I have a drawer for my coffee. And this is cool. This little fishing rod thing. It's a tiny little handheld fishing. The Grizzly. Cool stuff. Cool stuff. You got mods for your 3D printers. You got stuff. Oh, I have this vacuum. That's cool. So, you know, why purchase stuff when you can 3D print it? Save some money and fight against the man. What's funny is that these printers the Bamboo printers they're made in China. And then like the other really popular printer is like the Prusa printer, which is like comes out in a black and orange color scheme. If you see that, they are the Prusa printers, and they're also really good. You might, you know, depending on the security, you know, the security that you're concerned with, you know, you might get one or the other. And most of them now are coming out with their own version of this maker world, so that you can go in and you can look at their stuff. And this is cool. A back massager. Like, I got back pain, and that looks cool. That's worthwhile for me to print. I'm trying to get better on that. You like fishing? Put a chem light fishing tip on your fishing pole. That's cool. My dad and I love fishing. All right, so you can probably hear probably not hear it anymore, but the printer is working. And we'll get this out, and then what I'll do is I'll take that and I'll fill that with putty. I guess you could fill it with plaster too, isn't it? That's an idea. But the putty works fine. It's reusable. And I am trying to get away from plaster, so I'll fill that up, and then we'll create another scan. And then we'll fill will create a an injectable mold, and that doesn't take long. And so that'll make this portion more flexible. And then we'll be back for that, basically. So Control S to save, because I keep forgetting, if you do not save, I wouldn't rely on Blender's recovery saving protocol thing. You gotta save on your own. I will forget, and then I'll go pick up my kids from school or something, and I'll come back. And without fail, it's like it knows that I didn't save. And it'll be like, oh, there was an error. You have to close Blender and bring it back up again. Oh, sorry, you've lost 2 hours of work. My bad. Alright. So that's not bad. I always get the same comment from the same botter thing. Cheap viewers. Cheap viewers. You're right. Do we need? Is that? I don't think that's even any good. Probably not. We got one viewer, and that's me. I find that hilarious. Alright, so I don't know if it was better to have the camera pointed here right in front of me, or if it's better to have it up on the top of my monitor. Maybe you guys let me know. You get a little bit of higher view. I don't know. I look better from above. Alright. Okay, I think that's good. Oh shoot, but look at this freaking. That's not right. You see that? I don't know if you see that. But it's printing in green. It should be printing in gray. So let's go ahead and stop this. What's cool is you can stop from the computer, or you can stop from the printer itself, or you can use your Bamboo Handy app, and you can stop it right from the phone, or start it, or you can print start prints from the phone too. That's the other thing that's really cool about 3D printing stuff, is that you can have the app, and you can like be basically shopping for stuff on the app and print directly from there. It's pretty awesome. Let's see, I just want to check Twitch. How are we doing on Twitch? Yes, cheap viewers. Like, does everybody get that? That is the most annoying thing. Can I block that thing? It's so dumb. What was I even checking? Okay, whatever. Alright, so we'll go to devices here, we'll change this. So I don't know what I did here. This should be generic PETG. Generic PETG. This should be green. There we go. If you buy Bamboo filament from Bamboo Lab, from Bamboo Studio, from Bamboo Labs, whatever, they come with an RFID tag, and that's pretty cool, I guess, because, you know, I don't know, you pay a little bit more money for it, but the spools will have the RFID tag, and when you install the spool into the thing, it'll recognize the spool, right? And it will automatically change material and color for you. So what's up with this? I thought I synced this already. Right? Number 3, number 4 should be great. Synchronize. This thing should turn green. good to have a scraper. I like how Bamboo Studio, they'll just send you, when you buy the printer, they'll send you not the scraper, but the scraper blade. And it's really sharp. At first I thought it was too sharp. But then I realized it's actually the best scraper I've ever used. I've used lots of other scrapers, like paint scrapers and stuff for these 3D printers. And they are what's more like back when 3D printers were a new thing for consumers. That's what everyone used, just like a little putty scraper. But these blades are awesome. And I guess it works better on these textured PEI sheets. But when you're working on like a plastic sheet, they've got these different build plates, right? And some of the build plates have like a kind of like a plastic feel to it, depending on the material, because you want the build plate to match your material so that it adheres well and it's not going to like screw up and pop off while it's in the middle of printing. But maybe a couple years ago, these PEI sheets, these metal PEI sheets, and they're textured, they came out and they're good for most materials. The problem with the blades on the softer plates is that you could gouge out a piece of your plate by accident. But with these metal ones, it's much harder to do that. Even though these do have some sort of coating on the top of them, you just be a little bit careful. But it just glides right over. It's really awesome, actually. Okay, so for some reason, this sucker, this still wants to. Okay, I don't know if it wants to print in PETG still. It should reject the PETG, the green PETG, and it should start printing in gray. But we'll tag that. We'll pay attention to it. So not bad. All right. We're gonna do some. In the future, we'll do some Blender modeling. I don't know. We'll do some other interesting stuff that I can actually post onto these different sites, and you guys can download them. I still gotta do this headset thing. Not to mention some prosthetic work stuff. There's always stuff that needs to be designed and printed. I'm not even sure. Like we can search for what I really need, which is these headphones. My son. Well, this is just 11 months now. But I had these headphones that I was using for streaming, and he snapped the head part, the bridge part. And these are, let me see, Sony. I know they're Sony, aren't they? So it's like, I don't know, Sony. These are kind of retro, so we'll have to search for a few different things. Sony headset. I don't know. Let's see what comes up. Okay, I might be in things that I have. Check that. This is a cool little assembly kit card thing. Cool. I like that. I've got nephews and stuff, so they're always asking me to print stuff. Again, that's an awesome thing. That's another reason why it's so cool to have a 3D printed headset. The kids want some interesting stuff, and you can print them some awesome stuff, and you can do it cheap. It doesn't cost that much. The spool for PLA is like $12. You can do a lot with the spool. I made this giant Minecraft box, just like this little case that I made, but I made a huge one, and it's it's hollow so that these kids can put their toys in it and stuff, and they really love that. And now my niece wants one too. Alright, so these Sony headsets, they're mostly folders. I don't know what the portion of the broken portion is called. Only, I don't know. Head repair. I mean, I doubt people have made it, so I'm sure if I do it, I'll be like the first. Only style set. Is it player? I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted. That looks cool. Is this just a prop? Or can you put in the internals? I don't know. Oh, it's text, is it? That might be for Maker Supply. That might give me a hint. It's nice. Oh, they got an end of the year sale. Buy one item, 20% off. Buy three. I'll show you guys here. They got a Christmas sale going on. Yeah, I think this is just the decal. The H2D has a thing where you can like engrave or cut from like sticker decals on it. You can see here, like in materials, they've got like plywood. The H2D can also be converted into a laser cutter, which I don't have those accessories, but I did get it because you can do those things. That's funny. That's funny. Sony camera E-mount cap looks like an Oreo. That's hilarious. Okay, anyway, so I don't see it, and I don't know what it's called. Headrest? No, I'm pretty sure I'm just gonna get some organization stuff. Anyway, so that'll be something to do. There's always something that no one has done before. I mean, I wonder if we could also just like find that on Amazon. Let's see here. Sony retro headset. See, kind of like, I mean, it's this portion on top. These are cool headphones. That's awesome. Love those old style headphones. Vintage. My God, look at them. It's like $50 though. Vintage. I don't know. Let's just say repair or maybe replacement. Alright, so that might be one of those things that we have to design ourselves. And I've got some ideas for that. My God, I mean, how many of you like get these Sony fluffy pads and they just start disintegrating around the the faux leather, the pleather, whatever it's called? I will get some nice headphones and they would just start disintegrating after a year. I'm like, what is going on? I've got like a bunch of them. Quality, dude. Quality. What's going on with quality? Anyway. Alright, so we'll just wait for that to print and we'll do that and we'll fill it up. Meanwhile, I need to get started on, or I need to start finishing. I need to start finishing this leg, which means getting the silicone out and cleaning it up and stuffing it in here and sending this off to the client, which is another one. I think he's in, I don't know, he's in New York or something. I have to figure that out. Anyway, I hope you guys liked the 3D printing tutorial. How you do a little bit of modifying on scans and stuff. I know maybe you want to do some designing, but let me know what kind of design you want to do. You got like an idea for a design? I will try to do it and then we can upload it And the more of you guys get printers in your house eventually, because I swear this is just gonna be like an appliance. Like you have a washing machine. Oh, there's a washing machine, there's a coffee maker, there's a 3D printer. It's gonna be a thing. Stop fighting it. Stop fighting it. Just buy a 3D printer, damn it. They're everywhere now. Anyway, so I'm sure you guys are gonna need more and more like custom made stuff. It's just gonna happen. Okay? So give me your ideas and we'll see what we can do. Also, if there's any games that you want to play, like I do some mobile gaming. To do it on the computer though, you have to run with an emulator. And then I'll play like Fallout or Destiny or stuff whenever I have time on the thing. But I'm a dad too, so it's a little hard. But you guys let me know what you want to do. Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate every single one of you. I'm pretty sure there was none of you here. Let's check the comments to see if there's anybody here. Not really, just this cheap viewer stuff again that I always get. But thanks. You know, the world's on fire. How about yours? That's the way I like it. I'll never get bored. Peace out, guys. I'll see you in the next one.